Okay, it's just waiting to go through. And I'm never quite sure.
It says that we're live.
We are live. So, hi everybody, it's Nicola from the PDA Space.
And I'm Sally Cat. Hello. This is my first ever live, in fact. So hopefully it's going to be fantastic, and hopefully it'll be the start of many more fantastic lives. But please bear with me. I'm sure it'll be fine. No panic.
Yeah, no panic much because I've now gone, oh, are we still? And it's not come up on the page. So, yeah, I'm just going to have a little bit of a light-hearted, yeah, interesting. I can't see it on the page. Oh, it is. So, can I just say to anybody who's watching, this feels really cheesy, so I'm going to say it really cheesily. Please press the like and subscribe button. Should we do it in a real role play way?
Come on then, guys. Let's just press that like and subscribe button. You know it's going to make sense.
Exactly, everybody. And then you can make your comments and you can, yeah, let us know what you think.
It's always good to have feedback from people. At the moment, all I can see apart from my phone and my room is Nicola. I can't see who's listening. So if anyone can do whatever you have to do, if it's not too demanding to be able to add comments or just a little thumbs up or something, that would really give it a lot more energy in life, I think. But no demand, never a demand from me.
Exactly. Well, I've just put it into the group as well. So anybody who's listening and has only had access to YouTube, there is a Facebook group for the PDA Space Summit. And we have been doing everything. Oh, it doesn't. I'm not allowed to do an everybody again. So yeah, let's be honest. Your first live, which I really admire and take my hat off to you. And I'm, third live of going on live on YouTube. And yes, it is difficult because we don't necessarily get that instant likes, hearts, comments.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, we all want.
Yeah.
That's mean here, everybody. Come on.
I mean,
So
people say that PDA people don't like praise, which is true to an extent, but it's direct, specific praise we don't like, or indirect praise. I mean, like, oh, you're just really great. That's really cringe making, like intense eye contact. Don't like that. Don't know how to respond. But if someone says, I like what you said, or I like that graphic you made, or I like what you put in your animation, that makes me really happy. Because I do it, my motivation, my calling or whatever is to communicate PDA to other people, to help other people have knowledge to navigate, this invisible condition, whether we're PDA ourselves or have a PDA kid or both or a PDA best friend. The
all
more
partner.
knowledge we have, the more empowered we are to make what do you call it? Well, so peaceful, productive decisions, which, where we can go forward and harmonise with our family, not wanting to sound too cheesy again, but
Yeah.
knowledge is power, I think. So that's what I'm all about. So if I get feedback, that makes me so happy.
No, absolutely. And that sounded really no. And I know when I watched the webinar when you created the animation, I said, "Can I give you positive feedback?" And you were like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely."
please.
And I really liked the fact that it was giving adult PDAs, but I think a lot of people those hacks to manage life. And let's be honest, we all need some hacks. But I shared with you the other day when we spoke about, doing this, how a friend of mine was really struggling with the after school kids, cooking, all that stuff. And I said, well, after listening to Sally Cat, what about some role play? What could you do? I'm always really like wary of saying, the role
Rather
player in case it.
patronise someone. Also, yeah, it can sound kinky, can't it? Hey, how about role play that you're a naughty nurse?
Yeah,
But not that type of role play.
exactly. But, to be able to do it in such a way, and they were like, oh my gosh, yes, I am. And we all know what it's like when we cook and our kids are unable to eat the food.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if our energy's low or we're feeling not great, it can feel personal. And then on another
Yeah.
day, we're like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
But when you're
Our
cooking,
own
so
energy levels vary just the same as a PDA kid. And if we're a parent, and we're just focusing on how tricky it is to raise a PDA child without there being stress and friction and arguments and whatever, we can forget that the relationship is a two-way process. In a family, it's a multi-way process. It's not just about accommodating the child. Because if we're not rested, if we're not in a good place, if we don't have the energy, we can't be that calm parent figure that we want to be and think we should be. We will be stressed, and our child will pick up on that. Even if we put on a mask of, oh no, mum or dad or whatever, auntie, we're fine, the child will pick up. And if we pretend we're not stressed, the child will sense it, but then doubt themselves because mum, dad, or carer or whatever is saying, no, I'm fine. And then they'll start to think, well, what's being hidden from me? What is so very, very bad that they're hiding it? And the anxiety and stress will get even worse. Plus, the child isn't getting that lesson that they desperately need, especially being PDA with roller coaster emotions, desperately need guidance, role model on how to handle their emotions. And if a parent or carer handles that emotion by pretending they're fine, what's the child going to learn? They're going to learn to hide everything, bottle everything up, and not cope at all. So we owe it to our children and ourselves to be open and candid about what we're feeling and show how to handle it. So if, say, we've cooked dinner one day and we're knackered, and a child, you've cooked them different foods, you've done your best to cook them what they'll eat every night for me, and they don't like it. Sorry. um, and if you haven't got the energy, just say, look, I'm too tired. I can't cope. I'm just feeling stressed out. It's not your fault. I'm too tired. I went to a lot of effort to make that food. I don't begrudge it. I don't begrudge making different food. But at the moment, I need some time to just calm down. I'm going to leave the room 5 minutes and then I'm going to come back. And that way you're modeling, not only are you dealing with your own emotions and stopping yourself going into meltdown or whatever, you might not think of it as meltdown in yourself, so don't worry. And it might not be meltdown. Not only are you correctly handling your own mood so it doesn't escalate, and also you're stopping yourself from blaming your child for your stress, you're owning it, saying, I'm knackered, instead of building up resentment against your child. You are also modeling to them what they can do when they're starting to feel overloaded, which is going to mean that they will have a valuable lesson which they desperately need. So you're being kind to them. And you're also going to have more harmonious relationships in your family by modeling that way of dealing with things. So, yes, that was a very long, I can't remember ADHD too. I can't remember the beginning of that, Nicola. But
modeling, well, we were saying about
role play.
meals. So role play and meals, but I think that modeling, and it's interesting because Helene and I spoke about it around the whole managing our nervous system and modeling. I mean, it certainly wasn't done when I grew up, or not modeling that you would like, the behavior that they wanted.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so I think for our generation, it's like, wow, but the modeling and saying, well, this, yeah, as you said.
It's kind of mindfulness, isn't it? It's just being there in the moment and saying, this is what there is, which is a skill, I think, to learn. It doesn't maybe come natural as parents or carers. We may automatically want to cushion our child from being hurt by our pain or our bad mood, but that isn't actually the most helpful thing to do, I don't think. And
No.
what I was going to talk about in this live is how to adapt the life hacks I came up with for adult PDAs for parents and carers or even professionals to use, because you can't just say to a PDA kid or young adult, hey, what I think you should do is just glimpse doing the thing you're avoiding in your head. Just glimpse it. That's all you have to do. And then you'll find that in the end you can do it. That is not going to work because you're demanding that they glimpse it. I was talking to Libby Hill recently. I've had a few chats with her. She's brilliant. And exposure therapy does not work for a therapist to do on a PDA kid. It just increases anxiety, you know. So scared of a spider, there's a spider. Kid isn't going to get over it. They're going to get more anxious. However, for me as a PDA adult, the glimpsing I talked about is exposure therapy, self-applied, but of my own volition. I'm in control. Yeah. If someone tried to put that onto me to do it, would not work. If someone said, hey, you're avoiding filling in that form, so let's just think about it a bit now, I was about to say I'd punch them. I'm not really a violent person, but I'd feel like it. And it would make the demand avoidance worse. Yeah. So as parents or carers or therapists, what we can do instead is just talk about what you might do. So, you know, you use that non-demandy language. So there's so many different scenarios. It's difficult to come up with one which should cover all scenarios. But for example, with our daughter or even my partner, her dad, what he might do with me is say, I might go to the beach this weekend. So we're not saying we will go to the beach and I want you both to come. Yeah. It's I might do it. And that leaves space for me and our daughter to think, I might want to too. Yeah. So it's glimpsing the idea. It's just putting the idea very lightly and delicately, and leaving room for, but will always be, I think, an automatic demand no. That comes with our brain. But it gives room for us to sort of calm down from that initial spike of no and just think, because the spike didn't get too big, we can think, actually, maybe I would like to do that. And just keeping it all very calm and low key. So there's never a point of, right, we agreed we're going to the beach, so we will. So, yeah, shall we still go to the beach today? Or, you know, which beach do you think? And of course, it can get more difficult when you're PDA yourself and your child is, because they can start demanding to do something different from what you want to do, and your own demand avoidance is precariously held back. So a couple of years ago, I'd got really excited about regular family trips to a nice beach, and I'd started swimming regularly, and I was really happy. And then I think I communicated too much attachment to the idea, and our daughter didn't want to go there at all, no full stop. She'd only go as far as the bins by the car park and want to sit there. So, yeah, it can clash a lot. And for me, if I'm starting to get overloaded, again, what we talked about, when she gets too demanding, I can understand why she's being like that, but I'm still human, I'm still PDA myself, and I can just lose the plot and say, can't cope. I can't cope with you saying we've got to do this, sit there, do that, move that. And one beach trip, I felt really bad. I just had to walk back to the car, leaving our daughter with my partner, because I just couldn't cope anymore, but I was aware of it. So, you know, a couple of years before that, with less awareness, I'd have stayed there thinking I had to because I was the mother, and just been really horrible to her because I would be in a form of meltdown. So instead, I walked away and sat in the car. And for most of the journey back, I could hardly speak because I was in that sort of rigid meltdown head, which I hate having. But that was dealing with it a lot better than it could have gone. So, yeah, it's just having that awareness. And even if we're a neurotypical parent, we're still going to have our own emotions going on. So you might want to shield the child totally. But as I said, shielding isn't really the best. It can be helpful and it's needed, but it's not helpful if it's the only thing which is done. We need to be candid as well. We need to think of shielding and being candid and just be aware of what we're doing and what's for the best interest of a child and ourselves, and to have harmonious family dynamics, which is a bit of a cheesy phrase.
Now that was funny.
Family dynamics.
Get that on a yeah. So my dog's like looking at me like, so that's why I was like, okay. Yeah, it is that I mean, balancing everybody's needs is so difficult when there's several. I don't know if you can see me. He's never come up this high before. Several several PDAs in the family, and other people's neurodivergence. So that whole getting stuck. When plans change, it can get quite difficult, and at that moment it might not be the moment to be able to say either, well, actually I'm feeling this, because that if you say it'll just all around.
I think we just need to, all of us need, so it's a demanding word, but work on our own self-awareness and emotional awareness. That is so empowering and helpful, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your hack, so you were going to give some other tips for families, and it could also be with a partner, couldn't it? How to support them. And I'm thinking of somebody who sent an email to me asking for support. They lived hundreds of miles away from their adult child, who had quite a few forms that had to be done, like they were financially supporting them, and financially and I wonder if there's any hacks that you would have in that scenario of how to help.
The parent was caring for their adult child remotely, and the adult child had a lot of forms they needed to fill in, but were demand avoidant against doing it.
Yeah.
It's always difficult to come out with just a quick answer, isn't it? Because it's such a complicated. It's not just PDA and how that works, and that can work for different people in different ways, or different kind of stress responses. But it's also the relationship between the actual carer and child, be they adult or small. So, and there's also very subtle nuances involved. Using a bit of humour can help, but not just any old humour. So if our daughter's getting panicked, we can deflect her from going into full-on panic attack by using the right amount of humour, but it needs to be respectful as well. So it's all about, I think, following your own instinct of how you know your child, and working with that and being confident to do things your own way, because no textbook is going to tell you, apart from maybe the one me and Brooke Madeira have coming out about PDA, being published by JKP, Insider Guide to PDA. But most parenting textbooks won't give you guidance on how to deal with a situation like that, and neither will friends or family. It would all be things like use discipline, la-di-da-di-da, which won't work. So follow your instincts, they will be right. Remember to take your own time out, so that you have got the resilience emotionally to cope, and believe in the PDA. A lot of people say, no, it doesn't exist, it's not real, or blah-de-blah-de-blah. Just believe in it, trust it, and use that to navigate, to guide you in how to deal with the situation. So if you want to deflect the child, adult or not, from the wall they've got against the forms, it's very difficult if you're remote as well, if you're just on the phone or something, to not sound like you're nagging. Like, how do you bring it up? So it could perhaps be sometimes, if someone offers to do something for you in your PDA, you immediately want to do it yourself because you need that control. So it could be saying something like, I really don't want to put pressure on you. It's just my own worry as your parent about getting those forms done. I can't help it, and I'm sorry. Really not meaning to be demanding, but I'll tell you what, I could do the forms for you if you're just finding it too much, but it's your choice. And that could work. Yeah, they've got the choice then. They can even think, no, I'll do it myself. And you're taking ownership again, being candid about your own feelings. Yeah, I've got my own worry because the forms need doing and I'm your parent. So again, you're being open, you're putting into a negotiation situation, which tends to be helpful with PDA. You're giving them, the child, adult child in this case, leeway for having control, making their own decision. You're acknowledging that it could be demanding what you're saying, but you're saying why you're doing it. I think that everything we come across in life is a demand to us PDA people. Most observers, they won't see it because we just deal with it and it's exhausting. That's why we need so much quiet space. What people tend to see on the outside is when we can't avoid a demand, we're forced into it, and then we explode in some way. If we're externalizing PDA, or we might go into self harm or blah 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 because we can't avoid the demand. But we've got this demand avoidance going on constantly anyway. So if we give a reason for why we're requesting a specific demand to be overcome, in this case the form, we say it's because I've got my own parental worry about it, I can't help it, I realise it's demanding, then the adult child is, they're going to think, okay, it'll be a right pain to overcome that demand avoidance, but they've given a reason. So making the effort doesn't make me feel so annoyed or used or, taken for granted. Because when people put demands on me, and this is what other PDA people have said, it just feels really unfair. Like, wait, do they know what they're demanding of me? Do they know, they're saying I have to use the phone, not email. Do they know? Like, how dare they? And you can start, the more pressure they put on, the more outrage I'll feel. But if they say, the reason I'm asking that, just a random scenario, I'm asking you to use phone, not email, because I'm blind. Okay, right. I can see a reason for the pain of overcoming the demand avoidance in that case. So I'll stop feeling angry and I'll use my very limited demand busting energy. I can only get past so many demands in a day or a week to do that because there's a reason. But if no reason is given, we're less likely to make, just think, how dare you? I can't see why I need to do that. Shut up, put the phone down or whatever. And that's it. So hopefully that's clarified some things.
It has. And sorry, I did my usual of starting one bit of a conversation, starting a third conversation, and in the middle there's a whole load of other stuff. Because that's really transferable for lots of things. I mean, obviously, that form was because the family member was really concerned financially, and there was a lot of stress involved for everybody. But actually, that can happen for lots of parents with adult children or teens, that there are bits that are needed. And I'm thinking of, in Wales, there's been a new thing that you can get either very, very cheap bus for teens, or it's free, I can't remember which, but there's a form. And my young person loves filling forms in as much as I do. Actually, yeah, if I say, well, I appreciate it's a big demand, just what you've said. So that's really transferable across a lot of different areas.
Because it transfers even back to what I was saying about the being stressed when your kid won't eat the dinner you've cooked. It's just being candid about how you're feeling and negotiating and just saying, look, I'm not blaming you. I'm not saying it's your fault, but I can only cope with so much. And I think in a way it's that easy. Of course, it's not that easy, but I think that's a very powerful way, empowering way of interacting with a PDA person of whatever age.
Yeah. And I think, when we spoke or messaged a long time ago about this year's summit, and I said about equity, and I said, for years, everybody's like, well, what about us as adult PDAs? And you were like, yes, this is perfect. Partly because, yourself and Brooke, No Pressure PDA, have written a book. Do you want to say a little bit more?
So, no, we're very excited about the book. I was going to say about the book. It's called PDA Insiders. JKP Publishers are publishing it. They're getting it ready for print as we speak. It's due to be released worldwide next January. It's got 10 chapters. It goes through what PDA is, how PDA is hidden. It's got PDA, a chapter on infancy and toddlerhood, then school years, then adolescence and adulthood. It's got things PDA is mistaken for, like ADHD and personality disorders, and so many things. And has got PDA positives, and it's took us 2 or 3 years to write, mostly because we're both PDA and demand avoidant and not wanting to take control over the other. In the end, I wrote it, really. I'm a writer, so I wrote it, and then Brooke, she put her feedback in and we changed things and added stuff, and that worked. But Brooke said she was happy to let me take control, and I kept being very wary of taking control because knowing she's PDA. But we got there and very proud of it. And we're also going to be going self-employed in January, doing training, online training. We're putting together training modules based on the 10 chapters of the book, which will make as affordable as we can for both parents and carers and for professionals. So yes, it's very exciting, and I think we've put together something which is really good and really valid, and it communicates PDA from an insider's perspective, hence it being called the Insider Guide.
That's
So,
what you did.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to, am I allowed to say well done? Like,
You are allowed to say well done, yes.
Yeah, well done, because I think anyone pulling together a book is awesome. And then, as you say, the PDA kicking in and both of you not wanting to push the buttons of the other person's PDA is huge. Yeah, I mean, I collaborated and wrote one chapter in one, and I know how hard that was. I voice noted it because I can't physically write like that. So, you know, I take my hat off to you. And actually, I think 2 or 3 years is actually minimal.
Yeah.
I think when you speak to other people, yeah, people are brewing books for years.
I started writing one with Libby and Brooke about internalized PDA, but then the process kind of collapsed of communication because I tried to go running with it. And then if I didn't hear back on a question I needed to ask about something technical, I would lose all my demand avoidance would slam down like a portcullis, no one's fault. And then I was ill for most of September. So I've got a video meeting with Libby next Friday. So I'm looking forward to touching base with her and just saying, right, yes, the internalized PDA book, I'll get back on it. But I just had to, in September, I was just been working on the modules with Brooke, really, and like a few other things, because my energy was right down low. So that is in the pipeline. So that will be another, I think, a really valid book. So many people want to know about internalized PDA. And they say, is there a book? No, there isn't. We are pioneers. We are the people discovering it, and it's real. People will say, yes, I identify, yes, I identify, yes, I identify 100%. It's real, but it's not been encapsulated in a book because, well, we're just so hidden and internalized and invisible. So that will be getting done. And I think you said, Nicola, that someone asked about internalized PDA.
They did. Perfect, because I was thinking this is like flowing really well. Yeah, somebody asked, one of the questions was, what is the differences between internalized and externalized PDA?
Okay, so that's a great question, and one which I'm gradually making into a story, if you see what I mean, because it's not been formulated. You know, like people can say, oh, something is blah de blah. I might be being a bit weird now. So basically, externalized PDA is where our stress reactions, we don't filter them. So I could be like that if my daughter was in trouble. I would just go, rah, like mama bear. And everyone would see, oh, that person reacted like that. Might not know why, but it's all externalized. Nothing's held in. There is also, I've worked out, diverted. Is that the right word? Where, so you have your adrenaline banging my head, in it goes like the stress triggers building up, demand, other overload. Sometimes it diverts, it can divert as fibbing, as fooling around, you know, being the class clown. It can divert as forgets when I always forget. It can divert, you could forget involves sort of drinking to or taking drugs to block something out. It starts getting murky, like where is it internalized, where is it diverted? Going straight down, if it's internalized, you just hold it all in. So my instinct is especially in the past, I'm getting less like that now. If I feel anger at someone, I hold it inside. And if I feel pain or hurt or vulnerable, I hide it. I don't want anyone to see it. It's not, and my daughter's like that too. We have very different upbringings. It's not, I honestly don't think it's learnt trauma. It's just a natural way of that some people are. We have this pain masking going on, this automatic instinct to hold stuff in. It doesn't mean that we have less feeling reaction. It's just that we hold it in like swallowing a firework. We're still PDA in exactly the same way. We still have the same demand avoidance, the same need for personal control, the same high anxiety, possibly more anxiety actually because it builds up because we're not releasing it. So it is PDA. We still like novelty. We still have a quirky sense of humour, which seems very common for PDA, though it's not on the traditional list. We still don't automatically accept hierarchies. So it's just PDA that is internalized. As simple as that, but very hard to just, communicate it. So the only difference is that it's hard to see what's going on, and internalizing PDA is they might be a model pupil in school, but then go into burnout. They might self-harm. So I say we actually, because I'm an internalizer, we may take a very dangerous amount of alcohol regularly as adults or drugs. We may go into petty crime. There's all sorts of stuff. And often internalizers get overlooked, which is unsurprising because we hide that we've got any difficulty and we're quiet and we're not making trouble, but we do need that support. And the trouble is that if educators or whatever are underfunded and are overworked, and there's a bunch of children who are externalizing their problems, might not all be PDA, the teacher or whatever's going, even if they're aware that there's a suffering, quiet, internalizing PDA child in this class, you can't ask for help, can't ask like how to do the math problem or whatever. Even if they're aware of it, how are they going to remember when they're bombarded with these other needs? And there's also a safety thing going on for, if there's children charging around loudly and manically or, fighting. So it's very difficult, but just the awareness of it, I think, makes all the difference. And it starts with empathy, doesn't it? Even if the school system isn't set up, if a parent has empathy, then that gives you a power base inside to cope with life more.
Are there any tips you've got on that?
On what? Oh, my
On
finger's going long.
Oh, are they? I was thinking more how to have that empathy, that if you've got an internalizer, a young person or adult who is a internalizing PDA, have you got any ideas of how you could show some empathy of?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It is difficult because, I mean, with our daughter, she's never, from when she was 1 or 2, just learning to speak. As soon as she bashed her head or something, you could tell she was in pain. She had tears in her eyes, but if you went to comfort her, she'd say, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, just like back away. So to give her that support, I just learned to sit there calmly, not giving her eye contact, put my arms out so she could come for a hug without me making a big deal about it. So again, I think it's about following our parental or carer intuition and telling ourselves it's okay not to go by the book and doing what we can empathize that the child needs from us rather than what we think we should be doing as parents. If a child is mute in school, which is very common for PDA kids if they're internalizers, don't think that they need to be rushed and sort of encouraged and pushed into speaking. And Libby here will back that up. And that's her expertise area. Let them do it in their own pace. I mean, our daughter was mute in school. Now she chats with her teenage friends and she wears makeup and she has sleepovers. And she's like typical teen and being absolutely savagely sarcastic and moody to me and her dad. But, she's basically happy. She's still got the stress, but it's manageable. It's not, she's able to enjoy her life, which she's not gone into burnout. She's not self-harming or whatever, which can happen. So the supportive relationship is to just be sensitive, to not try to force anything, the internalized meltdowns will likely come out as completely irrational quibbling, and you can feel the tension in them. And it can be particularly exhausting if you're exhausted yourself and you just want to say, oh, shut the F up. But, just, being aware not to escalate the anxiety. And then if you do snap with them, later saying, look, I'm sorry I snapped. My emotions sometimes get too much, again, the candidness. And just, to keep that system of PDA awareness of keeping calm, not escalating their anxiety, not driving them too hard, accepting that they won't do all the things the other kids do. If they suddenly want to stop doing ballet classes or whatever, accepting that, lowering expectations without being depressed about it, accepting that they are who they are and they will be brilliant in their own way, but it doesn't have to fit any mold, including the mold of what autistic children should be like or anything. They are who they are. And just being supportive, non-judgmental, being calm, within limits. I just think about when my daughter had a burst appendix, we were so calm with us and she was masking so much, we really didn't notice. But luckily we got her to hospital. So yeah, just being calm, being candid. If you get stressed out, say so. Don't bottle it all up and then go into a Facebook support group for PDA parents and carers and start bitching about your kid, which is painful. And I'm sure you've seen groups like that, Nicola. So, oh, my child's a nightmare. They ruined my world. And if you say, look, please don't say that. Say, oh, I'm just offloading. I need to do it. No, what you're doing really is encouraging yourself to have a toxic attitude to your child. And you're also encouraging yourself to get emotional credit or whatever, emotional ping from getting all that other parents giving you sympathy for how horrible your child is. And when your child does get upset or stressed and meltdown, you'll automatically think, oh, I can tell them about that in the group. And you'll automatically be feeling hard done by, and the group will have been encouraging you to see your child as ruining your life. And that just makes their stress worse. They pick it up from you. Even if you think you're hiding it, they'll pick it up. And you're going to be effing miserable, to be honest. And I'm not exaggerating. That's what happens. And that's where the kids go wrong and they get so stressed it's unbearable and families come apart because the PDA, our need, our anxiety, our intensity, the amount that our demand avoidance can build up from pressure, that will keep building and building and building, and it's got to go somewhere. And if it's negative, it's not going to be good. So just they're not judging, they're taking responsibility for our feelings, saying, wow, I actually felt like going to a Facebook group and bitching to other parents. That would have been terrible if I did that, wouldn't it, child? I'm going to be candid with you and say, look, I can't cope. I own it. I want to cope all the time with you. And I did feel that I should pretend that I coped all the time, but I've realised that's not practical and that's not giving you a realistic or true impression. So here I am. I'm a human being and I do my best and I care. So I think that's the way forward, and that way you have harmonious relationships. And it won't ever be perhaps the magazine type relationship you might read about where everyone's lovey-dovey saying, I love you, Mum. Oh, I love you, child. You won't get that. But just accept it.
Any of those really exist?
But, you don't. I accept my daughter doesn't want me to touch her. I don't mind. Sometimes I want to cuddle her. And if I'm stressed, I wish I could cuddle you. Sorry, I'm stressed. And I don't want my mum to touch me. It's just the way we are, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. When I'm stressed, I don't want to be touched either. Just to say, there was under your webinar in YouTube, it said, thank you so much around your hacks. It's made me realise, and this really feeds into what you've just been saying. I constantly feel pressure from my teen with my PDA to do more, but I need to keep pushing to respect their needs. Also, that I need to manage my own needs.
Yes, totally.
That they were so spot on. And I think it is that thing of accepting our kids or any of us where we're at. And I talk a lot about comparisonitis and that having, in a way, letting go of that comparisonitis.
Mhm.
We have what we have in front of us, or
Yeah,
we are who we are. I mean, I talk
exactly. And when we
about,
accept who we actually are, that
yeah,
wouldn't sound too cheesy, we're just completely happy
yeah,
because we're totally happy. We accept who we are. We're not thinking something should change or something should improve. We are what we are and we're happy.
yeah,
And in finding that self acceptance, I'm not depressed for the first time in my whole life. And I was depressed so much before, and I'm not now. And now I've got to the point where um, with Brooke, we've written a book and we're going to go venture into business. Please send good luck by folks.
will be sending those.
So, it's so important about self acceptance and self awareness. As parents, I've included the self awareness and acceptance as a hack with the adults. I think that's what the parents and carers, they need that self awareness and self acceptance in order to be an effective parent to a PDA child and themselves, to accept this is who I am and I have my limits. I will get overloaded sometimes. I may swear sometimes. I may, I can't always be the forever giving parent carer that I think I should be, accepting that, being aware, noticing when we're getting overloaded. That was a game changer for me when I started to do that. Say, oh, I'm getting overloaded. I'm going to leave the table.
Yeah,
Because in the past, I wouldn't notice it. Said I had fear of what my emotions might be, fear and dread, and, accepting and noticing awareness. And another important thing, I think, Nicola, is I've come across in groups that a lot of parents and carers, they think that reducing demands means giving the child no demands. And they also think that if a child is getting stressed, what you need to do is remove all demands from them. Kind of the attitude that PDA strategies mean removing all demands, which they don't. PDA strategies are nuanced. I did a series of Facebook graphics recently, people can check out on my Sally Cat PDA page on Facebook. Um, we can't ever remove all demands. Don't even think about it. As I said before, so that was the demand. I suggest you don't think about it because, as I said before, we've got all these constant things our brain is interpreting as demands. We might only notice the ones where the child gets pushed into a corner, like you have to sit at the table or you have to go to school, and then they start loudly resisting. But we've got constant demands. Even if I want to pick up my a drink from a table, or if I want to walk across the floor to get my coat, that's a demand, and I've got to push past it. So we can't remove all demands. We can reduce the demands that we place on the child, and we can rephrase things so they're less demanding, so that remote living parent whose adult child wouldn't fill in the forms, instead of saying, my demand is that you get this done by next week because we're all struggling financially, we can reduce the demand of that by saying, I realise that it's demanding for me to say this again, but I'm very worried about the finances. Might it be easier if I filled in the form for you? What do you think? So that's reducing the demand. It's not removing it, it's reducing it. And if a child is overloaded, or even if they're not, like I said, we need a lot of quiet space because we get this exhaustion from all the demands we're constantly faced with, plus all the other stuff in life and any sensory overload. So we need a lot of quiet time, which isn't rushed. So we need that time where there's not a demand of, right, you can have 25 minutes exactly. I put the timer on for how long your quiet time is, because that's constant demand then. So reducing the demands, that helps. We can't remove them all.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's important. And also that's not the only PDA strategy. Another important strategy is candidness, being open. And sometimes candidness is, I can't reduce the demand. That has to be done. I'm too tired to even discuss it. I'm sorry, but I'm going into overload. So this time I just need you to, whatever. It's cats mewing at the door. Anyway,
Should we come to an end? Because is that
yeah,
the perfect time? Well, I want to say thank you. Your book's going to be out in January with Brooke, No Pressure PDA, with JP.
Hopi. JKP, Jessica Kingsley Publishers, it stands for.
Yeah. And anyone who's looking for training to come
Yeah.
and find you guys.
That's the
Obviously,
way, folks.
we'll obviously do something, and we'll do another live on YouTube about the book when it comes out.
Yeah,
So
that'd be brilliant. Thank you, Nicola.
you're welcome.
Thank you as always for inviting me to present in the PJ Summits. I always look forward to them, and it's just been brilliant to be involved in it. So thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing everybody's comments.
Yes, please comments, people. They make me happy. Bye.
Bye. And just leaves me to say, please like, subscribe, and then you can comment. We really need you. And I'm not going to do it in a cheesy voice. Like,